Hi, I'm Miranda Cavanis. We're presenting today on Universal Protocols and Crisis Planning. The core values of Universal Protocols are safety, dignity, and rapport. Ensuring physical and emotional safety usually involves the protection of self and others. This is important to create a welcoming environment and ask what safety looks like in order to embrace diversity and inclusion and to live by these core values of universal protocols. Ensuring dignity as a basic human right includes showing respect, compassion, empathy, and kindness. The third core value of universal protocols is rapport. There's an acronym for rapport. The first R stands for resiliency, which is the ability to learn from and see the positive side of adverse situations. A for autonomy, to make one's own choices, and assent or assent withdrawal within safe boundaries. P for positive regard, which is the unconditional acceptance, support, and empathy regardless of behavior. 4, and my personal favorite, is presumed competence. This assumes everyone has the potential to understand, learn, and develop skills. So if we presume someone is competent, we create expectations for them to learn and develop. O stands for opportunities for growth. This means we provide experiences to expand the knowledge and discover interest in an individual. R for relationship, providing opportunities for authentic and connected interpersonal interactions. And T for trust. This means you have the confidence that someone will do what is said or expected, and you're also working to build that trust in your learner that you're working with. The child must also trust that you'll do the things you say you're going to do and show up when you say you're going to show up. By following these core values, we can reach the goals of universal protocols. Universal protocols aim to limit injury and minimize the need for physical management techniques. It aims to increase the joy among individuals and prevent severe problem behaviors across settings. A major component is building trust and rapport between individuals. When setting boundaries, it is important that we define those boundaries, communicate them clearly, and then hold that boundary. When defining those boundaries, we need to be clear if it's sometimes available or unavailable. Is this a hill we may die on depending on the circumstances and variables at hand, or is this a hill we will always die on no matter what? Use clear signals when communicating unavailable versus available. STOP is a great acronym for setting boundaries. S stands for set the boundary, T for tact, O for offer support, and P for pivot. So as soon as the boundary is recognized, be clear and concise. Be kind. Restate what you hear and acknowledge emotions. Offer support and empathy. Give space and time, and then co-regulate and respond to bids. Follow the student's lead and invite to a new activity. We can apply these strategies in everyday life. You listen to the individual carefully, hear their language, know what they're saying. Understand the stressors. Understand the stressors not only in the individual, but in each family member. Be flexible, especially during refusal or elopement. Give choices, modify expectations. So when a learner is engaging in these behaviors, figure out what is triggering those behaviors. Why is the learner engaging in that refusal or elopement? Is there anything we can be flexible in and modify our expectations? Only teach when one is happy, relaxed, and engaged. So what does happy, relaxed, and engaged look like? Happy is in the head, relaxed is in the shoulders, and engaged is in the hands. So you'll know when one is happy, relaxed, and engaged when you see it. Coming from a behaviorist, sometimes that's hard to identify, but you will know your learner and you will know when you see happy, relaxed, and engaged. Is the learner enjoying? Does the learner seem to be happy? Do we have smiles? Do we have attention on something that they don't normally have attention on? Are their hands busy creating or being involved? Um, or do they seem tense and stressed? So those are the things you want to look for. To achieve happy, relaxed, and engaged, you want to build rapport. We just talked about the concepts of how to build rapport and what things are um, needed for that rapport building. So build those relationships, build rapport. That's how you get a learner to happy, relaxed, and engaged. Provide empathetic responses. Make sure the learner knows you hear them. Make sure the learner understands that you understand their feelings and that their feelings matter. Give choices as much as possible. Be patient with adjustments. Adjustments are hard, transitions are hard. Hearing directions sometimes can be hard, so be patient. Give the child enough time to process what's happening. Follow the individual's lead. Is this something that you can modify expectations or directions on based on the learner's lead? Examine your perspective and your own internal biases. This is really important when it comes to working with families in their own homes. Um, your internal biases or your preconceived perspectives may play a role in how you interact with a family and how you build rapport with a family. So make sure you're well aware of what those perspectives and internal biases are so that you can work towards rapport with the family collectively. And then, most importantly, bring the joy. People who work in universal protocols and in happy, relaxed, and engaged and trauma informed care are oftentimes said to be the joy bringers. If you are bringing the joy, then 9 times out of 10, your learner is going to want to engage with you. They're going to want to interact with you, and they're going to listen to the things that you have to say. Oftentimes, we can look at this like a bank account. If you have put enough joy in, you've put enough deposits in the bank account of your learner to be able to take some withdrawals every once in a while. And every time you place a demand or something that's a little bit harder, like a transition, then you're said to be making a withdrawal from that bank account. And you want to make sure that you have enough funds in there to make that withdrawal. So in the beginning, it's very important to make sure we have rapport built and bringing the joy. So what is assent and assent withdrawal? Consent versus assent. So consent is a term that most everyone's heard of. This is the participant's full understanding of the process and obtaining a formal agreement to participate. This can only be given by a consenting adult. So assent is the agreement from a child or a youth who will be the actual participant. So assent isn't necessarily always formal. It can be just someone wanting to engage with you, and you know they want to engage because they bring you a toy and they want you to play with it. So that's assent. Assent occurs when the learner verbally or non-verbally agrees to participate. Some examples of assent might be smiling, active engagement with a toy or with a coloring book or a video game, active participation, initiating those interactions with you. They bring you something, they ask you to do something, they grab your hand and pull you somewhere, they want to show you something. Orienting their body towards you or the activity or another person. And then affirmative statements when asked to participate. Recognizing assent withdrawal is important. When you recognize it, you need to respect the individual's bodily autonomy. Inform the child of any assistance you would be willing to provide. And what I mean by respect the child's bodily autonomy, we're not going to put our hands on a child and guide them unless they're in an unsafe situation. So respect their space and respect what's happening in the moment unless they're in an unsafe environment, such as about to run into the street, those kinds of things. Assent can be withdrawn at any time. We need to keep in mind that despite our best efforts, a kid can withdraw assent at any point. This withdrawal should be honored and addressed immediately with empathy and validation, not coercion. So you can say something along the lines of, "Oh, I see we're done playing. That's okay. I'll wait till you're ready to play again." So you're understanding, you're providing empathy, or, "Man, that was really frustrating losing that game. Let's take a break." And so you're giving empathy to the feeling at hand and validating that child's feelings. So moving into developing the universal protocols, we're going to spend a lot of time with the families and with the learners, getting to know the things that we just talked about, building rapport, getting to know what things the families are interested in, what things the learners are interested in, what are their most motivating reinforcers, what items or people, sounds, smells, environments, schedules, what things are super important to those learners. We want to know what behaviors are signs of bigger behaviors that are likely to happen. Does the individual let out a big sigh and then immediately start throwing things off the desk? Or do we scribble on our papers first and then a bigger explosion comes? Do we start pacing? Do we start making vocal noises with our mouths first? What are some signs or some behaviors that you might see prior to bigger behaviors happening? And then what is the individual likely asking for or indicating that they want? We know these behaviors can be communication. So, what is that communication that the individual is trying to convey to us? What are their routines? What's happening in their family? Are there times and places that the family goes, or are there things that are happening that every time they're in this situation, a big behavior happens? What are their likes and dislikes? What's the individual's likes and dislikes, and what are the family's likes and dislikes? Remember, this is an entire treatment team and not just what's happening with the individual. And then what are the non-preferred activities? What activities are likely to escalate a challenging behavior? Once you have that information, we can start to develop the universal protocol. Part of this universal protocol is going to be showing continuous regard and empathy. We're going to try to enrich the environment. What are things that we can put in the environment, or how can we change the environment to make it more learner friendly? We want to follow the individual's lead. If they're telling us they'll do their math work, but they can't do 20 problems, they can only do 10, we're going to follow that lead for now. We'll work on building skills later, but universal protocols are implemented in the beginning of any kind of intervention to help stabilize a situation, decrease challenging behavior, and potentially stop or drastically reduce severe challenging behavior. Universal protocols are implemented to keep learners and adults safe. So remember that that is what we're targeting first in the very beginning, and then we work on building the skills that the individual needs to be able to communicate their wants and needs. So we're going to invite the individual to participate in different activities. If some activities seem to be too challenging in the moment, then we say those activities are too hot. So we're going to back those off, cool the situation down a little bit, and get the learner engaged again. We want to limit non-essential demands and denials. If we don't have to say no to something, we don't want to say no to something at this point. If we don't have to tell the learner they have to do X, Y, Z, we don't want to do that at this point. So again, these are implemented in the very beginning of any kind of intervention to decrease seriously challenging behavior. We want to reinforce communication. So anytime a learner is communicating with us that they need XYZ, if we can honor that, we're going to honor that. So if they are asking for um, whatever it is in the moment, if it is something that we can realistically give and safely give, we want to honor that communication. Sometimes individuals get confused with universal protocols and giving a child anything they want. That is not the case. As I talked about earlier, we still have to set those boundaries. We want to hold those boundaries. We just want to know, is this a hill we want to die on now? Or is this something we can be flexible for right now while we're teaching skills that will increase communication, while we're teaching skills that will work towards responding to denials and work towards tolerating those denials. We want to recognize and reinforce any indicator behaviors or severe behaviors. We want to listen and respond. We want to listen and respond empathetically. We want to listen and respond with compassion. And then we want to collaborate with the individual. Are these things important to the learner? Just because I set a goal as a clinician, if it's not important to the learner, it's likely that that goal will not be met in a timely manner because the learner does not see value in that. So collaboration with our learners is very important, as well as collaboration with our families. So implementing universal protocols. First, we're going to complete the template with the individual needs and communication styles in mind. After we've gone through all of the information that we just discussed with the family, using different assessment templates and evaluating and observing behavior, we're going to create this template based on these communication needs. We want to know what are the barriers to progress. We want to know what the individual learner views as their highly preferred items. What areas are really hard for the learner to navigate? Can we enrich that environment in any way to make that environment more easily accessible and better to navigate for that learner? Can we implement some communication styles for that learner? Again, remember, this is in the very beginning, trying to stabilize the situation so that a learner can access their communication styles and skills to be able to decrease severely challenging behavior at this time. We're going to work on building skills. However, boundaries is still an important part of this universal protocol. So what are those boundaries? Have we set them clearly? We will write those in this universal protocol template so that we can make sure that the families we're working with, the learner that we are working with, as well as our entire team understands what those boundaries are and that we are all holding them at the same rate and intensity as anyone else would be holding those boundaries. We want to collaborate with our learner, our family, and our team regarding their goals and values, not necessarily ours as clinicians, but what is that learner's values? What's important to this family? What skills should we be working on at this time? And what things are the most challenging for them? And then ultimately, this is a strengths-based approach. So we definitely want to be playing to the strengths of the learner and the family. So what are their strengths? What are the things that the learner is really great at? Can we implement more of those in this universal protocol that we are developing at this time? Here are some resources, and I would really encourage you to go to the Universal Protocols Guide. This is found at pfasbtcommunity.com, and there are a host of different guides on that site, but there is a Universal Protocols Guide there with different videos and instruction and templates. However, for this particular program, we will be using our own template. It is on that site, but there's several more there as well. And then just reach out for any other questions. But there are several good resources here that should bring up a host of information on universal protocols for you. Thank you.